Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel solo mode. So, we have pretty much caught up here. There is only Terminal World left at the moment. Give it a couple of months and I'm sure they'll add a couple more solo modes. Although, inherently, if they just stopped at some point, I really wouldn't complain too. There have been plenty of solo stories, and I have painstakingly gone through all of them and completed all of them, with the slight exception of a couple of easy victories that I can get with dimensional observers. It seems like once again we have a continuation of a story, which that definitely gives the implication that all of these stories may get at least 2 chapters. But the continuations don't feel like they happen back to back, so almost certainly anybody playing the solo modes is not going to remember what happened in Alliance for Justice. Like, I couldn't tell you. I kind of recognize this card, and it kind of looks like it might be a somewhat newer card. But yeah, I really couldn't say much more than that. Seems like it's half robot, half animals, which I suppose is slightly different from half robot, half samurais, or which has been most of the previous solo modes for the past 3 or 4 expansions. The Ally of Justice Alliance was formed to fend off the invasive creatures from outer space. Use the power of unity to transcend tribal boundaries to exterminate the oncoming worms. Okay, I think I generally remember this now. Mechanical beings and Seek. The mechanical life forms Genix, utilizing natural energy, secretly work to better the environment. When the planet is engulfed in conflict, they too are drawn in. So perhaps this is a third faction in the story. Now, there is something I think to be said about the idea of having entire series of cards, and I kind of like that in Yu-Gi-Oh, but they never really do it well enough. It's not like you can make a Genix deck and have 100% Genix cards that would actually be playable. It's always something closer to you have to have half of one theme and half of another to try and synergize. And maybe there's some logic behind that, but I'm not sure I really follow that logic, other than they don't want somebody to be able to build a really powerful deck by just buying one style of expansion packs. There probably is something to that. In the store, if there were 4 different kinds of expansion packs, and it was pretty obvious that you only needed to buy one of those expansion packs, then that would create a situation where the other 3 get ignored and don't unpurchased, which would be bad for the card creators of any collectible card game, because I imagine the stores would then send them back and ask for credit or refunds. Let's see if this story actually connects to the previous story at all, or if this isn't more of a story that is just somewhat similar to the previous story that they're trying to cram together. There were beings that lived disconnected from the other tribes and civilizations for a long time. Their name is Genix. This color palette is rather bright compared to the darker color palettes of these other characters. They are mechanical beings with the power to control energy from nature, such as water, fire, and wind. So no light and dark versions of them? Or there will be 1 or 2 really powerful light and dark cards that are Gen X. They humbly use their power to improve the natural environment, as if to heal the planet itself. The Gen X were shrouded in mystery, as few of the tribe's people that inhabited the planet even knew they existed. What is their purpose? How long have they existed on this planet? Some of the engineers of the Ally of Justice witnessed their power and started to secretly observe them. Meanwhile, the fight between the Ally of Justice and Warm invaders was ever increasing in intensity, so it does seem like the story is introducing a third faction. Weapons including the Ally of Justice Cataster was deployed to the battlefield across the lands and had achieved a certain level of success. I'm having a hard time trying to figure out what this is really supposed to be. It's like half spider, half horse, with just a kind of weird robot face. It's actually quite creative for a Yu-Gi-Oh character. But with the emergence of large specimens such as the Warm Aerokin and Warm Illidan, take your pick as to which one is which, their momentum was beginning to wane. Some rather big words in a lot of this dialogue as they translate it from Japanese. Not only the Ally of Justice engineers, but also the soldiers fighting on the front lines foresaw the battle getting bogged down. Ally of Justice engineers worked to break out of the status quo, conducting various technological developments and studies. Now, I'm not sure what the Ally of Justice engineers really look like, whether they're supposed to be humans or whether they are the robots themselves. But then a message arrives from the person in charge of surveying the Gen X. The Gen X and the Worm have begun battling one another. Okay. And that's literally all the story we're going to get until the goal. Like, at least the two previous expansions have had at least two scenarios at the front, setting up the story. But we're instead just left with this. So we're going to do a practice with a loner deck, which the practice loner decks probably should only include about 5 cards, because they are pre-programmed so that you draw specific cards for the one turn you're going to play. You almost never summon anything out of the extras deck, and it is just kind of silly for them to list something like Swords of Revealing Light when you know for a fact we won't be playing Swords of Revealing Light. It just won't happen in one turn. There's no reason to. Not unless there's some kind of weird synchronization or synergy. What makes a Gen X deck unique? The deck features a synchro summoning process that combines Gen X tuner with a monster of a predetermined attribute other than the tuner to take advantage of the effects of the synchro monster. There are such cards such as Hydro Gen X, which must be synchro summoned with a non-tuner of a certain attribute, and cards such as Gen X Ally Triarm, whose effects change depending on what attributes of the synchro monster. Okay. Notice they're kind of highlighting the text here, but it's really way too small for you to read. You can't click on it. Use the effects of Gen X monsters to your advantage and win the duel. The aim will be to summon Locomotion or Gen X on your second turn. Wow, we're actually getting to a second turn. This may be a first for the solo modes. Let's use the first turn to make preparations. Normal summon Gen X Ally Changer. And if it is taking 2 turns to do a practice version of any solo mode that gives a hint that the cards are more complicated, which they really do need to be more complicated. The strategies need to be more complicated because you're not going to win in a one-turn situation in most cases. If you're going to win in one turn when playing ranked, it is going to be because the network disconnects. And I would suggest, and I highly suspect, that most network disconnections are intentional, either by bots accounts that are disconnecting after you connect and start a game just to let random people win, or by players who don't get a good starting hand and want to end the turn without being penalized for surrendering. Next, activate the spell card Double Summon, which I would assume the effect of Double Summon will let you normal summon / set twice this turn. That the explanation is in the name, which there is definitely an argument that almost every Yu-Gi-Oh card should have a name that heavily explains what the cards do. At least spells and traps. Normal summon Gen X controller now. So this is a tuner, and this is the new non-tuner. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of times tuner cards are normal cards where effect monsters are non-tuner cards. That would be a way to make normal cards more valuable, where they mostly are valueless. The objective is to synchro summon Geogenics. To synchro summon Geogenics, an earth monster is needed. Activate the effects of Genix ally changer and change its attribute to earth. So this one is not labeled as a tuner. Just double check that. Let's synchro summon Geogenics. There's definitely a point here where it feels like in the practice it should stop and just let you win. You made all the preparations you can this turn. Now end the turn and watch what the opponent does. Yeah, to me it feels like the practice should have ended here. You would have summoned this in attack position instead. The opponent would have had 1800 life points and you would have just attacked and won. Noticeably, we cannot activate any of the other cards, even though we could normally. So I guess the question is, what are they expecting to happen here, so much so that you could actually believe that this is a likely scenario? Because, yeah, what the opponent did there is going to be fairly unique. You'll probably never see those cards played in that order ever again against your cards. So you're not learning a strategy, really, from these actions that would be that applicable to other times you play. The opponent used a combo to inflict major damage. Let's fight back by synchro summoning Locomotion or Genix. First normal summon Genix controller. Okay, summon that. The dark monster is needed to synchro summon Locomotion or Genix. Activate Genix ally Chemister in your hand, then change the attribute of Geogenics to dark. So this ability can work from the hand. Change it to dark. Now that you have a Genix tuner and a dark monster on the field, let's synchro summon Locomotion or Genix. And just as I suspected, it probably is a dark monster, and it needed a dark monster to be summoned. Yep, dark. That is certainly something that I would have hoped they would have fixed in 25 years to having just a Japanese symbol for dark in the Western versions of the cards. But I guess they're being consistent. Locomotion Organics has the effect that activates when it's synchro summoned. That allows you to take control of the face-up monster your opponent controls with the highest level. So now we have enough to win. The opponent has no monsters left to protect the field. Let's proceed to battle phase and put an end to this duel. There definitely is room to potentially have a practice mode where you do one turn and learn one thing, and then the game jumps you very quickly into a second practice mode to take a second turn and do something else. Honestly, if all the practices were like that and you went through what was much closer to a realistic full game, where it's just holding your hand completely and telling you here's 3 or 4 strategies that you should be on the lookout for, I would almost certainly learn a lot more about these cards. You could easily have practice mode play one turn and then have the game take control away from you and play several turns to set up another scenario. And then give you back control. Pause now, I guess, if you want to look at these cards or read this. And we'll do the first duel, if I can say the right words. There is still very much a case where it's almost always the right move to play a trap. Let's do Swords of Revealing Light while we're here. Activated. Yep, if I had not flipped it over, he would have taken over he would have returned a face-up monster. Okay. Do we have a Gen X card that would need to... I think you summon this and activate its ability out of the options. And then you put this in the graveyard, I think. And then I guess you banish this. And then I guess you do this, which then lets me do this, which then lets me summon this, which then lets me summon this. And this is a case where card placement not being on auto would be helpful, so we don't have something summoned in this spot when next turn I could use it to summon something more. Interesting to gain life. That is something that is one of the lifetime goals of this game, is to gain significant amounts of life over a long period of time, and I just never play any decks that actually do it. I'm gonna go ahead and toss this since we know it works in the graveyard. And destroy this continuous spell. If I activate this, now I think you want to do this, even though this might be a little wasteful. Then I think you want to summon this. What can we activate now? This. So it would come down to what are we trying to summon now. Probably something. We need a Gen X tuner. Do we have a Gen X tuner? No. And I bet we need a Gen X tuner for everything. One non-tuner finer monster with a Gen X controller. Is this a Gen X controller? No. It isn't. So I don't think I can actually summon anything. So I think you just play. And relying on Swords of Revealing Light is going to give you enough time here that you can pretty much have 0 attack monster tokens and it not be a real danger. This would basically be the last turn that the opponent would have a chance. But even in this, even though I know I'm doing fairly well, I do have that like slight concern that had I gotten a different starting hand, this would have gone much worse. Okay, I'm just gonna attack with this, so I know what I'm against. And there we've won. So we may just breeze through this, noticing how it's a fairly short solo mission. We just won with the loner, with not really any struggle at all. Heh. Unfortunately, they've locked this gate behind having this icon. Fortunately, I imagine you just get this icon for finishing the story. So they're probably trying to experiment some more by introducing some new cards in the final goal that they wanted you to see the backstory about and get maybe a little bit of an explanation about before you go and do the other challenges. We have no choice, so we'll finish the story here. The purpose of the Gen X is still unknown. Okay, this is an interesting visual effect. However, it is a fact that the Gen X have started their own fight against the worms. Some of the engineers of the Ally of Justice analyzed the behavior of the Gen X in the following way. The Gen X were originally acting to improve the planet's environment. The worms must have been recognized by the Gen X as invasive species, an invasive alien species that is destroying and polluting the environment. that must be why they're taking action to eliminate them. Now, interesting storytelling would be to throw in a twist and a surprise there, and that not be the reason why the Gen X are attacking at all. Of course, these stories don't go long enough to really have twists. The action of the engineers was focused on somehow incorporating the Gen X's power as an ally of Justice Force. After meticulous investigation, a means of communication was established via Gen X controller. The ability of harnessing the power of nature to create energy and eliminate their enemies was gradually deciphered. Thus, the research took a leap forward, and they were eventually recognized as part of the ally of Justice Forces. Later, Gen X manipulated by the engineers and utilized as a weapon of great power. Preparations for a major operation against the worms was steadily underway, regardless of whether the mechanical beings wanted to participate or not. So, the allies of justice, whether they're humans or something else, using another species in perhaps an unethical way to save the planet or save themselves. Now, here's a major problem, certainly, as they are more interested in dragging you to the store to spend some gems than they are to let you continue the story and play the game. They are directly getting in the way of the gameplay. And while there are a decent number of super rares I don't have here, I don't think that this secret pack would be a good candidate. I could purchase 10 packs if I wanted to, but just don't want to. Now I have to jump back several menus in several clicks and scroll all the way down the list to just get where I was. Just to get back to this point. So now we can unlock this because we have the icon, which is a little weird to have a gate that is gated by unlocking an icon instead of the secondary currency. But I think the gate system frankly is stupid anyways, and I would love to see them eliminate the secondary currency and say all gates are now unlocked automatically. We've gotten rid of this because the secondary currency doesn't mean anything. You can't use it for anything other than unlocking gates. And there's really no reason why content should be gated like that. It's not logical. It might be logical if you had to collect a significant amount of the secondary currency by playing all of the solo modes up to the first 4 scenarios before you unlock a gate. But that would just have you going around in circles and confuses the story quite a bit. Pause now, I guess, if you want to read this. And I guess pause now if you want to look at this or read this. We'll do the loner deck, going for a card protector. And then if we did my deck, I would just get a couple more legacy packs. I never use the icons or card protectors or anything like that. All of the visual items are very pointless to me because they're not interesting to look at, really, and they don't really change anything. There's definitely something way more iconic in just having the brown spiral of Yu-Gi-Oh! As the background art of Yu-Gi-Oh! And if they were to make a card protector that was interesting, it would have to be so interesting that it would have to become the new default that everybody liked. So many people, rightfully so in my opinion, have been upset by the way Microsoft often changes the icons and the way Windows looks. And the start menu, what the start menu does, what the start menu looks like. a lot of card protectors and background art for card games feels very much like that, where it's just a bunch of artists wasting their energy and nobody likes it. Even if the art was better, it very possibly is just a scenario that people are nostalgic and they want things to stay the same. I have no idea what I'm doing. I almost certainly played poorly there. So I can put this face down, but then he's gonna attack it, and then it's gonna be destroyed. Even if it can't be destroyed by battle. Yeah. So that didn't really help. I could summon this, activate this, and then we can look for things that might be useful if it was in the graveyard. That's pretty much the only card that might be useful. So that gets me this far, which could get me a 1700, which is nowhere close far enough. So I need to then activate this. And see, this time I don't know if I just got a bad draw or if it just did get significantly more complicated. Now, what can we summon? This. So we go to a 28. I think you should lean on this, but I could be wrong. The real strategy at this point would be to link summon and summon something between this and between this, between the two of them, even stronger, but obviously there's no viable candidate to do that. I have no spells, I have no traps. He's playing basically the same strategy as me, only better. And we pretty much have lost now. I don't know if there's a way to turn this around, nor do I really feel like I've made that many mistakes. Go ahead and activate this field spell. And we either summon this scrap card or this scrap card. And I think this is the one that would have the best chance of success. I guess we're looking for earth cards to throw in the graveyard. Of course, that's not what I just threw in the graveyard. Trying a little bit of everything here. Again, just activating everything to see what happens. But honestly, I don't know if I have a single card that could have beaten that 3,500 attack in a fair fight, at least. So what can we summon now? We can make it 2,400 if we took 3 monsters. But it's probably not worth it to do that. In fact, it's probably not worth it to summon either one of them. Whatever this trap card is the thing that's going to potentially wreck me. So we are back to where we were. So let's just go ahead and, I guess, evolve up. And I guess continue to put things in the graveyard. Things that potentially have value in being in the graveyard. And yeah, nothing else can be done, it looks like. Really is a case in this instance, and I haven't seen this really before, where you have literally one card that is so powerful that the entire deck feels like it can't beat it. Other dark monsters. So unless this could bring something to the graveyard that would activate from the graveyard, something from the deck to the graveyard, face up defense position. I guess this is the only one that has a slight chance of working. What else am I looking for? Probably looking for a spell. So it's either this one or this one. And since that's a continuous spell, let's go with that one. Activate this. Like this. Activate this. This one is dark. This is dark. So this ability can destroy that. So I chose wisely. Which is mostly to say I got lucky. Do we want to summon anything else? We have 25 or 27. Let's go with that. That. I don't think anything else would make sense. Are we going to win this turn? No, we can't even attack this turn, but we may have turned it around. We definitely have a decent advantage. He has only one card he can play, and I have one card and 4 cards on the field. Guess you want to summon that? I want to destroy my card. Or do I want to summon this with this? I guess that works fairly well. And I think we've got a victory here. Music changed. That tends to indicate that they did the math for me. I talked about in the previous recording the idea of how putting a card face down in defense mode in Yu-Gi-Oh! This level in XP, by the way, it's been going for 2 years, and theoretically you can get up to level 100, but it doesn't really give you anything for doing it. Just a few gems every time you level up, and it gets Takes twice the amount of XP every level to go higher. So level 100 would be ridiculous. I'm guesstimating it takes twice the amount of XP to go to the next level. But yeah, one way I suppose you could make a collectible card game where it was breaking that stalemate of just putting one face down card and going in defense mode and then ending your turn and then having your opponent have only one monster that can attack, is you could certainly see a case where the first attack that you do on your turn does 1 times the damage, then the second time you attack maybe does double the damage, and then the third time does triple the damage. That could speed up gameplay quite a bit. It would also make it extremely important to have a defense that can always survive 3 attackers. If you were going to do that, though, you probably would want to reduce the number of monsters you could have on the field down to 3, which isn't a terrible thought anyways. It wouldn't be crazy to just have 2 characters on the field. If you could only have 2 monsters on the field and possibly 2 spells or traps, then that would keep crazy combinations eliminated and make it easier to avoid power creep. It still would happen, certainly, but would be easier to try and reel it in. Pause now if you want to look at this deck. And so we're going to try the loner deck on difficulty 5. And we may get it, we may not get it. It may take 2 tries. I don't think I'd try for a 3rd time. And then I'll basically be done with solo mode for at least a while. So if I had a wind monster, it might make sense to play that. I think the move is to do this, though. Toss that. Banish this from the graveyard. Or banish this and have a token. I think tokens are going to be more valuable. One face-up monster you control to the hand, special summon this card instead. Guess that makes sense. Return this card. Put that on the field. It's still going to be the same situation. Nope, weirdly it wasn't. I don't think the same situation. You might have been able to summon something with an earth, with a tuner, dark, and water that I can't do with this tuner dark with tuner dark. This was a non-tuner card, so I made a mistake there. Hopefully I don't pay too dearly for it. What is this? Each time a monster is normal summon, target that monster, banish it during the next standby phase. The player who controlled that monster will return it to the field in face-up attack position. Okay, that's gonna be crazy. Do we have a choice here? I think you basically have to do that. Then I can activate this effect. Put that in the graveyard. And then this should just be banished at that point. Yeah, and I don't think I can do anything else. We destroy those two cards. And there are no other opportunities, so we just continue and see what happens now as the card comes back face up. Well, that wasn't too terrible. Let's see. Guess we'll go with that. Then we'll activate this, I guess. And then the question is, what has the most attack as far as these ninja cards go? Looks to me like it's going to be this 1800. Special summon this card. And see, all of a sudden we're now playing ninja cards. 2600, 2500, 2400, 2300, 2500. Ninja cards can attack directly. Interesting. Then 2500. Nope. Don't want to summon that then. Summon that instead. Select one spell trap on the field and destroy it. Get rid of that annoyance. So we need a Gen X tuner and one more non-tuner dark monster. This is a tuner dark monster. I don't know if any of these are actually Gen X controllers. So I think we have a victory here. And honestly, this is taking such a small amount of time that I should just play the challenges a second time on screen, since we've already seen the story and there's nothing else to do. Playing with my Zodiac Tri-Brigade deck. It really won't take that long. I don't know if I even have any more water cards to put in the defense mode. graveyard. Spell or trap cards, we don't have any. And we just win, so just attack with the strongest attack, so we're absolutely certain we destroy it. Then we can attack with the second strongest attack and win. You don't have to go any deeper. That is one of those rare occasions where it does feel like the game could have gone a little bit longer and I would have still enjoyed it, instead of most cases where I'm just kind of annoyed when the games go on longer. We can just show off here and still very much highlight the power of the Zodiac Tri-Brigade deck as a top tier meta deck, and how fast or efficiently it defeats all these challenges. It will be a sign of failure, frankly, if I lose even once, and I wouldn't really even expect to take more than 3,000 damage in total. It would be a sign of fairly high success if I can manage to pull this off 3 battles without taking any damage at all. There is enough randomness in a Yu-Gi-Oh game, even if playing against an AI, that you might take some damage. If I activate this now, it won't work properly. So I could activate that and then summon that. Is that better than what we have now, though? I don't think it is. If we can just do a direct attack, we can attack here and see what that's all about. That leads me to this. Which then lets me do this. I took 600 damage. And yeah, that's an example of the kind of randomness you should expect. Of course, if I hadn't attacked with a 1200 attack character, things would have gone differently. The motions of playing the Zodiac Tri-Brigade deck still is very slow. It's kind of frustrating just how much button clicking you really have to do. But it wins. So you really are at a weird level where a better deck than the Zodiac Tri-Brigade may very well, for me, be a deck that just requires less button presses, less mouse clicks. Let's go ahead and activate this. Toss this. Activate that. Toss this. Activate that. Add that to my hand. activate this ability, toss in the last 4. To summon the last of the Tri-Brigade character. So this is at this point really showing off, unless there's something from his hand that the opponent could activate. This should be a completely done experience. And there is a card that most people would recognize that could be in the hand of an opponent in Rydo, or one of the Rydo offshoot cards that would prevent you from taking damage for 1 turn. And yet nobody would play that card. Because it's not worth it to play. I would be hard pressed to go any further. I could summon something like, you could summon this and this, but then this link summon character won't point any further, and link summon characters can only be summoned in places they're pointing. So at most you could have 6 link summoned on the field. And then there's just nothing more that can be done. Not that anything more needed to be done. I basically had a 1-turn kill with just these 3. So 600 damage for the first battle. Our goal is to take less than 3,000 damage, just pick a random number in the next 2 battles. And really pointless to get this extra secondary currency, since there is just no solo play stories left to unlock anything. Unless I go back to the solo menu and it surprises me and unlocks something new, which I don't think it would do that. Okay. Just so we don't get irritated by this card, I'll activate it now. And we will go with this strategy first. And we'll see how that plays out. I don't think I want to push it too much, since he only played 2 cards. Pushing it would be to activate this, toss this, and eventually summon something from here in a 1-turn, in an attempt at a 1-turn kill that probably wouldn't work. Take it slow, win in 2 turns instead. Just summon Zeus. You can see the finisher rate and usage rate on Zeus being very high. Nearly, if the 47.2% there is what I think it means, then that is implying that 42% of all decks actually use it, which that would be very high. Okay. Gonna activate this one. I toss in this one. Put that there. Activate that. We've all seen it before. One more time around the merry-go-round. We'll go with 3 to summon the bird. Get that done, and then we'll summon access code talker. Now, for the longest time I did not know that access code talker could destroy cards on the field. But yeah, we could show off and banish a bunch more cards and summon something else. And I could activate this if I wanted to. There's no reason to. And no damage at all in the second challenge here. In fact, basically no challenge at all in the second difficulty level. We took 600 damage. So now, can we take 0 damage again in the most difficult challenge? And this is inherently why I play a lot of this off screen too. It's just not that different to show the same thing over and over again. Okay. I think the move here is you summon this, and then you activate this. I think I went first, so I'm not going to attack, so that's important information to also know. I'll attach these 2 cards. And then we go here with that. Then we go here with that, and we end up finally with Trident, so we can destroy some face-up cards when the next turn starts. In the turn. If this gets destroyed, we're fine. We have 6 attached cards. If this got banished, that would suck, but it would have to effectively banish all the cards under it, which I'm not sure that's how that would work. We do have a weird situation now that we have to account for, but it's not changing too much. We just summon this one first, then we summon this one second, then we summon this one. And so now we have 9 attached cards. And I'll just put this in face down defense mode. Now, I have to change my prediction now. There's a decent chance I won't take any damage, but there does seem like this might take a little bit longer than I would like. Maybe 3 or 4 turns instead of 2 or 3 turns. Don't think we're at a point where we need to activate Zeus. Still don't think we need to activate Zeus. Still don't think we need to activate Zeus. Now is probably a fine time to activate Zeus though. Just toss a couple of cards in the graveyard. And this is a great card in case something went terrible, but nothing's gonna go wrong. So we'll just show off a little bit, go through the cycle to put more in the graveyard. I guess I could accidentally click no when I mean yes, and that could go mess some things up. Let's see, 3, 1, 2, 3. Again, just showing off quite a bit. Like access code talker there apparently is the number 2 ranked card in totality. So if you don't have it in your deck, you're almost certainly messing up. It is showing off certainly, but it is also a case where it instills good habits to play, even if you know you're going to win. Just play the right way and make it subconscious and repetitive. And yeah, that took, I think, 3 turns and no damage. And with that, there's nothing more to show off. Yes, I could theoretically play this previous chapter, but I'll just do that off screen. And then there's just nothing else in solo mode, with the exception of a couple of challenges here that I will win with my Zodiac Tri-Brigade as soon as I need to. I'm simply leaving them for the next time I get a daily quest. We didn't even get anything special for that. The most special thing I really earned here is it just got rid of the red dot on the solo mode section. And okay, that's something. But yeah. That's it for the solo mode stories. At least until they add some more. And they're fine. They're not terribly long. The solo mode stories in Shadowverse, in comparison, are awfully long with their visual novel style of having way too much story and way too many challenges. I would like to see something way shorter than Shadowverse, but a little bit longer than Yu-Gi-Oh! in your solo mode content. I think Hearthstone in particular had interesting solo mode stories when they introduced solo mode stuff, but they didn't add quite a lot of it when I was playing Hearthstone. And I don't think Magic the Gathering ever had any solo mode story, when really Magic could have benefited by having more solo mode content. Anyways, since there's nothing else to do, there's no reason to continue. So that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.